Hey, we're live, everybody. I just wanted to have a talk with you before we jump on, before Sigmund gets here. Because, wow, what an interesting day of football. Oh my God. Okay, I'll tell Sigmund we're live, and then we'll go live, and we'll have a little chat before he jumps in here. Let's play this thing.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
Here we go, everybody. It is the Audible. It's Sunday night recap, and really? Hey, this is what we get. Steelers beat the Ravens, though, so that's a good thing, right? Can have some positivity there. I on Sundays I'll do the Broncos postgame show. For now, they might be asking me to not do that anymore. Yeah, I hope I can still do it, but who knows? People get upset about stuff, and well, they'll be all right. I'll be all right, and I'm here. I'm here for you. And Sigmund will be joining us here very shortly as we get ready for the recap show today. But I just wanted to keep talking because I can't actually slow down. I've been up since 3:30. I was at Boulderthon today. So a little sleep deprived, had to watch terrible football, and it's just not fun. The rest of the NFL's fun though. Sigmund Bloom's here. Hi, Sigmund.
Hey, howdy. I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
No. I was just having a little private time.
Yeah,
with our
no,
audience.
this is good. Intimacy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Talking about how I might have just got fired tonight. Like, hey, there we go.
Oh, well,
Eh,
you'll never be fired in our hearts.
that's right.
You'll always be on the payroll.
Might have to ask Joe for a raise. I just I'm done being polite. Like Sean Payton is a tyrant.
Yeah. Well, see, we talked about this. It's a Broncos show. So let's just jump right into the week 5 recap. See, we've been hinting at this, saying that unless this team starts to get a foothold, you're already skipping straight to the tear it down phase of the Sean Payton era. And that's not how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to take the pieces that obviously were good enough to win if it wasn't for Nathaniel Hackett and win with those pieces. And it didn't quite go that way today.
Yeah. Bougie's asking because we preload the show, like in terms of when it's going to go live.
Yeah.
Always give me like an hour till the Broncos game is over.
Right.
And then we'll do this live. But Bloom, do you want to do the Scooby-Doo ending? Where we just kind of redo and start you're probably not a Wayne's World fan. You were watching Big Lebowski while I was watching. There you go. Doodle-doo. All right. And here we go in 3, 2, and let's have a little fun, right? I need some fun in my life. How about this?
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
See, now I'll know where to cut the audio.
Yeah.
For the audio version of tonight's show, the Audible Week 5 recap. It is Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom talking about what happened in the National Football League and going beyond the box score, going to London 25-20, the final. The Jaguars get the win over the Bills. Both teams are now 3-2. Trevor Lawrence goes 315, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Travis Etienne, 26 for 136 and 2 touchdowns. This is what you wanted to see. Oh, yeah, and Calvin Ridley, you wanted to see him 7 for 122. Christian Kirk, 6 for 78 in this contest. Hey, Zay Jones was back out there catching a touchdown. If you had him in as like a what-the-heck flex, 3 for 23 and a touch. Evan Ingram, 4 for 28, and Etienne had 4 for 48 as a receiver. But this game, a nice statement game in London for Jacksonville.
Yeah, this was a game. See, we saw earlier this year, they were really eager to face Kansas City, and the defense was up to the task, but the offense wasn't. This is a Buffalo team that also is a yardstick game for this team. And hey, maybe we talked about this in the preview. maybe this team being so well accustomed to playing in London and playing back-to-back weeks in London, I'm not sure that's happened before. If it has, I can't recall. So they're already acclimated to London, and Buffalo decided to come over on Friday. I don't know how much that played into this result, but you did see a Jacksonville offense, a bounce back game for Trevor Lawrence against a good defense. And there were 2 fumbles deep in Buffalo's end, or this could have been a blowout. The Jacksonville Jaguars severely outplayed Buffalo in this game. Travis Etienne took over, finishing blow just like he did in week 1. Ridley is back. No Tre'Davious White in this one. And next week against Indianapolis, they don't have anybody that can check Calvin Ridley. We know that from week 1. Christian Kirk's okay. Zay Jones, like you said, catching that, climbing the ladder for that touchdown, also comes out of this with a knee issue. So you're going to see those targets concentrated. Kirk, Ridley, Ingram against those Indianapolis Colts next week in a showdown for the first place spot in the AFC South.
Yeah, lots of interesting football, but not necessarily on Buffalo's side. Josh Allen, a couple of touchdowns, 1 INT, 359 through the air, and then a rushing touchdown to benefit his fantasy day. Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs did their thing, right? Both with touchdowns, both with over 100 yards, 121 for Diggs, 100 for Davis. And then just nothing, in a game where it's 11-7 at half. You could run the ball more than 14 times. I'm just saying. You could set some things up, even if you're giving Latavius Murray some carries or Damian Harris or whoever. Where's James Cook at? Seriously, where's the tight ends at? And 5 catches between Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. It should be 10, and it should be 7 of them for Kincaid.
Yeah.
So the lack of vision with this team, we want Josh Allen to do less. Go do everything, Josh.
Right.
Come on, man.
Yeah, you're right, Cease. I think we're not seeing the moves this team has made to make this offense more diverse bear any fruit. And maybe some of the blood is on the hands of the coaches for not giving it a chance. Like you said, James Cook, Damian Harris, Latavius Murray, they never really get a chance to establish the run here. James Cook now with this game bottoming out, you're wondering what you have here. More of like a flex play. I mean, at least they play the Giants next week, so you got to get James Cook in your lineup for that one. Like you said, targets concentrated on Diggs. Gabe Davis is a success story. I'll say this. Yeah. If you were focused on Gabe Davis in draft saying last year he was hurt, there's still a lot there, even with all these additions in the passing game, you were right. And you're seeing now 4 straight weeks with a touchdown for Gabe Davis. But as you said, Dalton Kincaid, the myriad, you did see Deontay Hardy at the very end get a deep ball. A key play in this game where Stephon Diggs had one taken away from him in the air by Darius Williams. But really, this was a game where Josh Allen, Cecil, we don't say this very often, Josh Allen, it wasn't quite garbage time, but because his team was playing from behind, that's the only reason he got to rack up the stats that he did rack up. It wasn't really during the competitive time in the game. And like I said, the Giants, yeah, you're going to make this team feel better facing the Giants next week. But so far, it's a mixed bag of what Buffalo fans can look forward to in January, which pretty much sounds like how it's been for the last few years.
Yeah, and how are you going to play the underdog role when Josh Allen's on every commercial?
Yeah.
Hey, we're the underdogs. Buy my product.
Right, right.
What is he, video professor? That's a deep cut. Anyway, Tennessee and Indianapolis. I'll be okay. You'll be okay. Everybody's okay.
Yeah.
23-16, the final score. It's Indy and Gardner Minshew getting the win. More on that in just a little bit, but let's talk about the Tennessee side. And Ryan Tannehill, 264, no touchdowns, 1 INT. DeAndre Hopkins, 8 for 140. Tyjae Spears, rushing touchdown. More, please. 4 for 35 as a receiver. More Chiggy's always good. 5 for 33. You're not starting him. Derrick Henry, 13 for 43. Okay. And then 3 for 19 as a receiver. Nothing else from anybody else. And, well, you see, after being down 10-6 at half, and they getting 10 third quarter points, couldn't score anything after that.
Yeah, this was a game of near misses for Derrick Henry. There were a couple of big stops in short yardage, deep. There was a point, really a swinging point in this game, turning point where Henry was stopped deep in Indy territory on 4th down inside the 10, and then Gardner Minshew led like a 92, 93 yard drive. But you get it. That was basically the game in this one. Derrick Henry just missed on a touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins. Couldn't quite get both feet down in bounds. And it was just not a game where things came through for Henry. That's how he's going to be. He's going to be a boom bust play. It was a bust here, but it was not a bust for Nuke Hopkins, who is healthy now and looked like vintage DeAndre Hopkins in this one. Contested catches, winning, trust from his veteran quarterback. So if you have Hopkins, you're feeling good about that pick. If you have Spears, this is the game you've been waiting for. And you hope that this starts to get the ball in his hands more. You see the explosiveness. It's almost like, imagine if Miami took Spears, and Tennessee took Achane. We'd be talking about Spears right now, right? Spears would be the sensation if Spears was just running in the Miami offense. And if Achane was in the Tennessee offense, they'd say, well, they're going to get going. We'll see. They're going to get going. And that's where this team is at. Always competitive. They're smarting after this loss. They're going to face a Baltimore team. Also, not exactly happy at the end of this Sunday.
Yeah, speaking about smarting, we'll get to that in a little bit, but let's talk about Anthony Richardson, who can't complete a game. He's missed a game. He's been out in every game except one. Gets banged up again. And here comes Gardner Minshew, wins the game for the team because Zach Moss goes for 165 and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor was back out there. They didn't need him because he had 18 yards on 6 carries. And then 1 catch for 16 yards. And then Josh Downs had 6 for 97. Michael Pittman had 5 for 52. Moss also had 2 for 30 as a receiver. So they couldn't stop Zach Moss. Well, this maybe complicates things with Jonathan Taylor going forward. And it's already complicated with Anthony Richardson. I get so many Richardson questions, Bloom, and I'm always leaning to start him. Right. I always been recommending to start him because if he could make it, like he is a top 10 fantasy quarterback, it's not even a question. But now with all this, he's always banged up. Like I might be changing my tune when I get Anthony Richardson questions.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And that's the big question here. Richardson's going to have to change his approach playing with the big boys on Sundays. It was okay whenever he just got banged up at the end of the game. When he got knocked out with a concussion, you thought, well, he got knocked out on a touchdown run, 2 touchdowns in the first 6 minutes of the game. Still good news. Finishes the game, he's an elite fantasy quarterback, so you're feeling good. But now, 3 out of 4 games, he's not able to finish. And with his shoulder injury, I think the x-rays are negative, but I expect we're going to see Gardner Minshew next week against Jacksonville in that showdown. And Minshew brings with him a revitalization of the pass offense. Josh Downs, we're going to talk about him on the waiver wire show. Pittman had a solid game. But this game belonged to Zach Moss. And let us also say, hey, the Tennessee run defense, which we respected when we were setting our lineups, wilted in this one. Jonathan Taylor didn't really even get a chance to get going. Had a nice run on a screen pass. You're like, oh, yeah, that's Jonathan Taylor. But Zach Moss, not just reborn with this opportunity with Taylor on the PUP list, but if you have Taylor, now you're feeling like, is this going to be a committee? Really? Even though they just gave him $14 million a year and they finally did the right thing. See, sometimes we do the right thing after we do everything else first. And they did the right thing. And as it sets forth into this new era, the Anthony Richardson era, if Richardson can stay healthy, Jonathan Taylor behind him, beside him, but also Zach Moss. So I love that in fantasy leagues, if you thought, I hear everyone saying Taylor's back. I know he just got a contract. I know that they're committed to him. But Zach Moss has been playing well, even against a Tennessee defense that we respect. Even in a committee, I'm going to start Zach Moss. You were rewarded handsomely. And Zach Moss is showing that maybe it was injuries. Maybe just it wasn't cast the right way in Buffalo. Again, Indy and Jacksonville next week to audition for first place in the AFC South.
Well, and here's the thing. Your window with Zach Moss might just be closed. Like, maybe it's committee. Maybe he just doesn't touch the ball anymore. Like, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. You never know. But it'll always be fun and interesting. Unlike our next game, unless you're a Saints fan, 34-0, New England. Oh, New England. Let's save them for just a little bit. Let's talk about Derek Carr. 183, 2 touchdowns in this game. Chris Olave with 1. Give us the update on Olave, Bloom. 2 for 12 and a touch. Foster Moreau with the other. Touchdown. Nobody started him. 4 for 65 for Michael Thomas. Kendra Miller, 4 for 53 as a receiver. 12 for 37 as a rusher. Alvin Kamara, 22 carries, 80 yards, and a rushing touchdown. And then 3 for 17 as a receiver. Sheets, he 2 for 28. Why am I talking about him? The Saints made this one look easy and maybe even a bit cruel if you're a Patriots fan.
Yeah, if you're a Patriots fan, this is a new low in the Belichick era. But if you're a Saints fan, you're feeling like, okay, some things are coming together. I do want to say here, Cecil, Even though the Saints won 34-0, there's still a Dennis Allen moment. Here's your Dennis Allen moment in this game. There's a pass, a completion, and to a Patriot. I think to Mario Douglas. I could be wrong. And at the end of the completion, there's a personal foul. Okay. Dennis Allen challenges the catch. I think it was like a 20-yard catch or something. It's already going to be an automatic first down with the penalty, even if you get the catch overturned. I get it, man. Maybe save your challenge for a play where you actually can, get the ball back or not give the ball to the other team on 1st and 10, even if you win the challenge. You had a Honey Badger pick 6 in this one. You had Alvin Kamara finishing a drive. You had Kendry Miller flashing as a receiver. We'll talk about him on the waiver wire show. You have Chris Olave, a little banged up in warm-ups, looked okay closer to the game, did catch a touchdown here. Not really sure how much I think it was an ankle. Not sure how much that affected him because the game script really put the downfield passing game on mothballs. But you do know that New England's defense is declining. They lost Matthew Judon. They lost Christian Gonzalez. They really didn't put a lot of pressure on this Saints defense, which really didn't have to do much because the defense did enough to win this game. Anyway, New Orleans is going to go interesting game. The I-10 showdown between New Orleans and Houston.
Yeah, New England side.
Not much.
I don't like hot takes, but it's like, Bill.
Yeah, the Vultures. They beat
okay, Bill.
over Foxborough.
It's okay.
Circling.
And it doesn't always end well, for some of the league's best.
It almost never does, Cecil, because
Yeah.
a lot of them they have to hang on until the game says it's not your time anymore.
Right. So, is this what we're seeing with Belichick? I don't know. I don't want to say sad. You had enough, New England. You had your time. And, and I honestly think it's both. Was it Elway or Shanahan? Well, it was both. Was it Belichick or Brady? Well, it was both.
Sure.
It was a nice combination. When you don't have that combination, you're forced to play Mac Jones. Yes, forced to play Mac Jones because Robert Kraft and his green screen videos, all up in the videos, Bloom. Robert Kraft doesn't know what he's doing because they got to play Mac Jones. No, you don't. Mac Jones is not good at football, and he's dirty, and I hate him. Anyway, I do love Mario Douglas. He only had a catch, but I still love him. 7-Eleven, he's always open. It doesn't matter until Bailey Zappi or somebody else is your quarterback, not named Mac Jones. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. See, we can draw a parallel between the Steelers and the Patriots, although the Steelers won today. Steelers are tied for first place in their division. I think with the Patriots, maybe it's more of a personnel, but not personnel in the sense that the personnel they have aren't quite panning out. It's the blueprint's not going to work. The blueprint of these receivers against NFL corners and defensive backs, the blueprint of a Mac Jones style quarterback with those guys, right? I mean, there's an alternate universe where Mac Jones ends up being a 49er, and maybe it all works out. But if you gave Brock Purdy these guys, in this offensive game plan, it would not work out, right? If we're talking about switching this stuff, some Freaky Friday stuff, Freaky Sunday. The pick 6, he was hit. There was a bad pitch back to Ramondre Stevenson on a short yardage play. It was a fumble, but it just feels hopeless. This offense feels hopeless. Bill Belichick had the worst loss in his career in terms of margin of loss last week. This week, that was a 35-point loss. This week, it was a 34-point loss. He almost had, in consecutive weeks, the worst loss of his career. If that's not the Grim Reaper tapping you on the shoulder, there's just no imagination here. And there's not really any way forward, especially if the defense now is going to also be an Achilles heel. Hey, here's a happy thought. They're going to go to Las Vegas next week. I always like to go to Las Vegas when I'm at my worst point in my life.
Oh, there's some stories that we could tell, but let's instead move on and talk about Baltimore and Pittsburgh. The next game we're going to break down here on the Week 5 recap. It is the Audible, and then it's the Steelers getting that win. Okay, 17-10. Ian's Cat was saying good news is Matt Canada keeps his job. Bad news is Matt Canada keeps his job. We'll get to the Steelers in a little bit, but Lamar Jackson, with all the turnovers in crunch time, fourth quarter overtime, there's someone that's going to let go of the ball. It is Lamar Jackson. So 236, no touchdowns and a pick. had 45 yards on the ground. Zay Flowers, I love him, 5 for 73. Mark Mandrews, love him too, 6 for 65. Odell Beckham Jr. was back, 2 for 13. Nelson Aguilar had 4 for 64. Justice Hill was out there. He had a rushing touchdown, 7 for 32, put a pin in it. Gus Edwards, 12 for 48 on the ground, but just not enough for Baltimore, and that Steelers defense taking advantage late.
And see, so we mentioned it in passing. A lot of people mention this, that Lamar Jackson was not the best against the Steelers. And he was only 1-2 against the Steelers. When I say only, what I mean is, how is it that Lamar Jackson has only played 3 games, right? We saw a lot of different quarterbacks in Ravens-Steelers games, often not Lamar Jackson. And this Steelers defense, which really rolled over for the Texans last week at home against the Ravens, you're going to get their best football. And they hung on for dear life, I'm always reminded of that scene in Raising Arizona, the classic movie. Randall Tex Cobb, a great heavyweight boxer, was the guy that sent to find the kid, and Nicolas Cage is just getting his brains beaten in, but he hangs on to him, accidentally pulls a pin out of his grenade. He's like, I'm sorry, like the grenade that's hanging on his chest. That's the Steelers, right? They're just hanging on for dear life, and they find a way to make the plays. A blocked punt, a sack strip by Alex Highsmith, a 4th down stop, right? They just find ways where, for some reason, on 4th and 2, they're dropping back Lamar Jackson. I understand having Lamar Jackson with the ball in his hands on a run-pass option. There was Gunnar Olszewski tried to fumble away this game for the Steelers, and then they got an end zone interception. Joey Porter Jr. making one of his first signature plays as a Steeler. And you did see there should have been more there for Zay Flowers. There was a key Justice Hill fumble, who clearly has more juice than Gus Edwards right now. But with Keaton Mitchell maybe coming on, this backfield gets more complicated. You feel like this offense hasn't even come close to being what it could be this year. There's so many plays that were there. There are plays downfield there for Zay Flowers. We still want to pick on the Steelers when it comes time to set our lineups. It's just when they're playing the Ravens. It's actually Aguilar, not Bateman, not Beckham. There was a key end zone play where they're throwing the fade to Odell Beckham. No, this is not 5 years ago, Odell Beckham. So some of it could get better with better play calling and execution. Some of it is just this Steelers matchup. They're going to Tennessee, which is another team that plays over their head, especially on defense at times. But I will say this, Cease, as we transition to the Steelers, as 2 lifelong Steelers fans here doing the show together. The defense is hard. The offense is hard to swallow. It's hard to process. It's hard to digest. How long has it been this way now? Cease, 5 years? When you watch this, you have to cover your eyes when you watch the offense with the Steelers. However, the way this team fights, the way this team believes, the way this team, even whenever they have to make it so difficult on themselves, you shouldn't have to have all of these things. They're not just breaks. The Steelers made their own breaks in this game, okay? You shouldn't have to manufacture that many game-swinging plays to win a game by 1 score. But if that's what they have to do, that's what they do. So it was a proud day for this Steelers team, even though it was still a day that showed just how far they have to go to truly be competitive.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett, 18 of 32, 224, 1 touchdown, no INT, sacked 3 times. George Pickens, 6 for 130 and a touchdown. Steelers know how to pick them with wide receivers. Allen Robinson, 5 for 29. Nobody else did much of anything else.
No.
40 yards from Jaylen Warren, 37 yards from Najee Harris. Warren had 39 yards receiving. Okay, Connor Hayward talk. Whatever. But it's enough to win in this battle and divisions of physical black and blue. Okay, you got it done, Steelers.
Yeah, and no big mistakes. I mean, that's the difference, right? They didn't make any big mistakes on offense. They didn't make many great plays on offense either. But what you do see is George Pickens growing into that true number 1 receiver. And Kenny Pickett didn't do a lot right or a lot of things to change the outcome of this game, but he made the biggest throw. He dropped it in a bucket for Pickens, who just has the beautiful, it's weird, Cease. Usually when you're running stride and stride with Marlon Humphrey, who was back for the Ravens in this one, Ravens getting a little bit healthier. And when you have the arm, it always seems like when the arm gets straight, that's when the ref pulls the flag for offensive pass interference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Pickens, this was like a real seasoned veteran kind of push off, because it wasn't perceptible. It wasn't like Humphrey slowed down. It wasn't like you could see some evidence in Humphrey breaking his stride or his upper body lurching back from Pickens. And Pickens, much like late hands, he had the late push off, right? It was almost imperceptible, but it was just enough to create the separation because, hey, George Pickens isn't going to create a lot of separation. That's not his bag. His bag is when that ball's about to arrive, I'm going to do what I have to make that catch. And that was the difference in this game, along with all those other plays, the block punt, the interception. They needed all of these things to break right for them. George Pickens is an alpha. George Pickens belongs in your lineup every week. I don't care who the quarterback is. Jalen Warren's better than Najee Harris. The Steelers know it. They know it. When the game was on the line, who's out there? No, I know it's the pass offense and 2-minute drill or whatever. I don't care. If Najee Harris was worth a first-round pick, he should be out there. He's not. Jalen Warren's better. And Jalen Warren has so much fight. He's even better at the things that Najee Harris are supposed to be good at. He always takes these. How much do you love this? As someone who watched Bam Morris or Jerome Bettis, it always takes 2 or 3 guys to get Warren down. Always. Mm-hmm. The first guy never gets him down. That's beautiful. That's Steelers football. That's one of the few things when you're watching this offense that reminds you of that line going all the way back to Franco Harris and Rocky Blyer. Don't laugh, Cease. Don't laugh. The Steelers are in first place going into the bye.
My first authentic jersey was Barry Foster.
Okay.
So my first real tackle twill, $300 jersey, although I didn't pay that for it, but it was Barry Foster. Yeah. So remember him well for a year.
Yeah. Anyway. I always remember how you just let that kickoff sit there. Hey, it's a live ball, Barry.
Might want to pick it up. Might want to talk about Houston and Atlanta up next. 21-19 the final score, and it's Atlanta getting the win, so they're 3-2. The Texans are 2-3, and CJ Stroud 20 of 35, 249, 1 touchdown, no INT, no sacks either. Dalton Schultz 7 for 65 and a touchdown. Tank Dell 3 for 57, got banged up. Bloom, give us the latest. Nico Collins only 3 for 39. Robert Woods 3 for 30. Damian Pierce, 20 carries, 66 yards, hard-fought yards today, also a catch for 16 yards. So we admire the Texans, but they couldn't hold on, and it was 14 fourth-quarter points that allowed Atlanta to get the win.
And it's a respectable game for the Texans. Looking at this matchup on paper, going into the season, you would say, well, Atlanta has a much better roster than the Texans. If the Texans can go on the road and lose a last-second game, then that's a good sign that they're on their way. It was not a great fantasy game for CJ Stroud, but hey, it's like a 16, 17-point game. That's not bad. And you have Tank Dell going out with a concussion. You have AJ Terrell blanketing the number 1 receiver that he's on. Next week, that'll be Terry McLaurin. So you see CJ Stroud evolve a little bit. You see him throwing more to Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz had his first really good game as a Texan. Probably you're going to talk about him on the waiver wire show this week, talk about picking him up to play against New Orleans, again, the I-10 battle. I wouldn't worry about Nico Collins. You've seen his ceiling. And I wouldn't worry about CJ Stroud. He broke the record, by the way, for the most attempts without an incompletion to begin his career, which is meaningful, I think. I think it shows they got the best quarterback as a passer, at least. And hey, Anthony Richardson can't stay healthy. So the Texans have to feel great right now, even though they lose this game in the last second to Atlanta, who, much to the chagrin of fantasy owner people everywhere, oh, hey, Desmond Ridder is back, everybody. He's back.
Yeah, he's back because you didn't sack him. Pressure makes him look mortal, every quarterback, but still, 329, 1 touchdown on the day, no INTs, wasn't sacked. Desmond Ridder also had a rushing touchdown, the 1 passing touchdown to Bijan Robinson. 2 for 12 and a receiving touchdown, 14 for 46 on the ground. Tyler Algier, 17 for 40 in this contest. Kyle Pitts, they used him, 7 for 87. I think it's because Mark Schlereth was on the game. And on Friday, I told Stink, hey, tell Arthur Smith to remember Kyle Pitts. So I'm going to take full credit for that. Probably doesn't do anything next week. Drake London, 6 for 78. Jonnu Smith, 6 for, they sure do love Jonnu Smith, 6 for 67 in this contest. So there you go, Atlanta. You get the win, and, well, maybe learn you can go to Kyle Pitts more.
Maybe. See, so National Weather Service reported an irregularity on the eastern seaboard radar there was a massive flock of vultures over the Georgia Dome, whatever they call it, Mercedes-Benz Dome, and they took off for Foxborough. They're all those vultures that were circling around Desmond Ridder are now circling around Mac Jones as Desmond Ridder. And the good news is he did help the fantasy value of Kyle Pitts, even though Johnny Smith had another good fantasy game and fumble. Drake London had a good fantasy game and threw a 22-yard pass to Johnny Smith in this one. Actually, Bijan Robinson was bottled up in this game, but did score a touchdown. So there's a lot of silver linings to the clouds here. And Desmond Ridder does get the rushing touchdown. Hey, against Washington next week, you'll probably consider him as a streamer, or at the very least as a quarterback 2 super flex in those leagues, or a DFS cheapo quarterback again against Washington. And he's 5 weeks in, as usual. There's a lot of teams that, depending on the matchup, depending on how things break, depending on, like you said, are you good at getting pressure on the quarterback? You're probably going to beat Desmond Ridder. If you're not, you might lose to Desmond Ridder in the last seconds. But it was a game that the consequence here for us is they already had heard that the Falcons were going to be patient with Desmond Ridder. This one, Cease might have bought him till the end of the season because they always will think, hey, a game like this without pressure, it's going to be right around the corner.
Yeah, that always happens in the National Football League. It is Detroit and Carolina, 42-24, and it wasn't that close. Detroit gets the win. They're 4-1. Carolina's 0-5. Bryce Young, 25-41, 247, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs. The touchdowns go to Adam Thielen, 11 for 107 and a touchdown. It's like Andy Dalton was playing. DJ Chark gets 3 for 42 and a touchdown, and Tommy Tremble 1 for 1 and a touchdown there. Nobody started him. Jonathan Mingo, 5 for 48, if that was on your bingo card. Laviska Shenault getting his Cordero Patterson card.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. They're just not running the ball with anybody else. And again, if it wasn't for 14 fourth quarter points in garbage time, this is even an uglier game.
Yeah. See, I want to do a quick aside about this, okay? Because we're watching the game again. Andy Dalton is not exactly known for his physical prowess, right? In fact, part of the reason Andy Dalton was a second-round quarterback and not a first-round quarterback is that in terms of his build, in terms of his athleticism, play strength, and all that stuff, he's below average, right? He's a super ordinary guy in terms of athletes and frames at the NFL quarterback position. But yet, when it's time to do a quarterback sneak, they take Bryce Young out and they put Andy Dalton in, which I don't even think it's necessarily a terrible idea. But to me, it says that the Panthers themselves are not really sure that Bryce Young can hold up at quarterback. I mean, it's a quarterback sneak. And I just feel like it's really odd to spend a number 1 overall pick on a player that you don't really think is physically able to hold up on a quarterback sneak. Tom Brady was good at quarterback sneaks. I mean, it just feels odd to me. It feels odd, especially when you think of where the Texans are now with their quarterback. And even though he gets injured, where the Colts are, at least in terms of possibilities with their quarterback. So you see Laviska Shenault as a runner. It's a pretty good running back, unlike the other two. Does set up a Tommy Tremble touchdown, the one touchdown when the game was kind of competitive. And then you get the Bryce Young to Adam Thielen garbage time specials, which are going to happen a lot because you even see with Bryce Young, they're not doing a lot that sets up his strengths. You see the weaknesses, and Miles Sanders still isn't right. A bye is coming up. They're going to Miami. That's not going to be pretty. So again, Chicago has this team's first round pick. It may be the number 1 overall pick again.
Just might be. Just might be Sigmund's time to gloat about the Lions. I'll get out of the way after I say Jared Goff was unstoppable with a rushing touchdown, 3 passing touchdowns, 236 yards in the air. Josh Reynolds, 4 for 76 and a touch. Sam Laporta, 3 for 47 and 2 touchdowns. And then he didn't do anything like the second half. That was all early in this game. So there's your 3 TDs. Khalif Raymond, my buddy, 3 for 45. Marvin Jones Jr., 2 for 22. David Montgomery's Day, 19 for 109 and a touchdown. Craig Reynolds, Netflix, 7 for 52 and 1 rushing touchdown. 2 for 20 also for Montgomery as a receiver. Jameson Williams returned 2 for 2. Anyway, almost anything they did worked.
Yeah.
Except for Jameson Williams because he's a bust.
Yeah, this is fun, right? If you're a Lions fan, this is fun. And remember the game they lost in overtime to Seattle. They're 4-1. and everything is going well. Dave Montgomery has a 42-yard touchdown to get things going. One of the Sam Laporta touchdowns was beautiful play design. Laporta doesn't get 5 catches, doesn't get over 50 yards, still has one of his best fantasy games of the season, getting those 2 touchdowns. Josh Reynolds with a beautiful toe tap touchdown. Jared Goff accounts for 4 touchdowns in this one, even though the running backs got 2. Netflix getting the garbage time touchdown with, by the way, Jahmyr Gibbs missing this one with a hamstring. Now Reynolds is a David Montgomery injury away from mattering because this offense is so good, because this defense is good. Setting up the offense. Hutchinson, Aiden Hutchinson. Putting his mark on every game. In some way, putting his mark on every game. He sets up a touchdown. Jerry Jacobs, unheralded cornerback. He sets up, Emmanuel Mosley got hurt in this one. Yeah, who cares? This is fun. This is a fun Lions team. I think it is happening, Cecil. I don't think they're bloomable. This team is happening. They're going to Tampa next week to face Baker Mayfield. And we're seeing this, Cecil, even without Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was out. Didn't even affect this offense. Didn't even slow them down.
Right.
So this is good. This is really good. I do think this is your good news, bad news. Bad news is this is your last year with Ben Johnson as OC.
There you go. Great leaders create other great leaders.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Great leaders.
You know who the wide receiver coach is there, Cease? You know who the wide receiver coach is over there?
Remind me.
Antoine Randall L.
Oh, beautiful. Wonderful. Kerry Colbert here in Denver. Anyway, let's all rejoice in Dan Campbell. And great leaders create other great leaders like Dan Campbell and unlike Sean Payton. Anyway, so moving on. Giants and Dolphins. We knew this one would be bad, and it seems like almost every week, Bloom. Not every week.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDaniel's just like, yeah. I mean, we could score 50, but nah. I mean, it's okay. We can kind of coast a little bit.
Please, Hammer, don't hurt him.
Yeah, 31-16. Hammer's death row record, and yes, he did. I think it was unreleased, but you can listen to the whole thing on YouTube. Like MC Hammer's death row record was actually kind of good. I don't think it's like Shaq Diesel good or Deion Sanders good, but still, it's kind of like different Hammer. So Hammer did hurt him a little bit with death row, and it never got released. Anyway, 31-16 is the final score. Dolphins get the win. They're 4-1. Giants are 1-4. Daniel Jones taking hit after hit after hit. 6 sacks. I hope he's okay. No kidding or jokes about that. Darren Waller, 8 for 86. Okay, that worked. Nothing else did. Didn't run the ball. No Barkley. Jones getting the hell beat out of him. Sorry, Joe. Just a bad day at the office for the Giants.
Yeah. See, are you familiar with the term tomato can in sporting lingo?
Remind me.
Tomato can is like a boxer that you set up with an actual good boxer, so they just get beat up.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you need to just set up a matchup where just like almost like a sparring match, but it counts.
Yeah.
I mentioned Randall Tex Cobb. Let's go with other great heavyweights of the 70s. Jerry Quarry. I think they called him the Bayonne Bleeder. That's Daniel Jones is like the East Rutherford Bleeder, because this is just getting hard to watch. And you appreciate that Daniel Jones isn't going to back down. No matter how bad it is, he's not going to back down. He's like the knight in the Black Knight in the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Like, it's just a flesh wound while he's like staggering off the field,
I'm invincible.
Yeah, he's not. The Giants, this is just so bad. And at least, we're going to talk about Denver. At least Denver is like getting out of the way. Like, okay, we have to tear this down. We thought that's where the Giants were last year. And then they won a playoff game and gave Daniel Jones a 4-year, $160 million extension. And, well, they probably have to at least tear some of this down. They had a 102-yard pick 6 in this game, and it still wasn't competitive. It still wasn't even close to competitive. And at no point did it feel like this was going to be competitive. Jones leaves with a neck injury. You might see Tyrod Taylor faces old Bills team next week. Hey, Darren Waller got it going. This was positive regression, disappointing tight ends start to actually do something weak. Darren Waller participating. Nobody else participating, at least from a fantasy perspective. Wan'Dale Robinson didn't even do anything in this one. And at the very least, Giants fans can travel back in time 30 plus years. One of their proudest moments when you think about Giants. Buffalo fans.
They played too legit to quit this morning at the Boulder-thon, Bloom.
Oh, wow.
And I am definitely I'm not a runner at all, but I'm like getting into the runner community because it's you see all types, all body shapes, all
Yeah.
creeds and everything, like, and it's good. Everyone's there for health and like to be supportive. I'll show you my medal. All right, see,
Yeah.
now I can
Awesome, man.
I should wear this for the show, right?
That's
I should
great.
wear it for every show. Anyway, let's talk about Mike McDaniel. He's going to be wearing some hardware pretty soon. It's called a Super Bowl ring. And it's awesome. It's incredible. And again, it's just like they're calling off the dogs, like Devin A. Chain. What do you have? 128 in the first half.
Ugh.
Finishes the game with 151 and a touchdown on the ground. Also, one for 14 as a receiver. Tyreek Hill 8 for 181. These are stupid stats.
Yeah.
These are Madden stats. Like, you didn't really do that. 8 for 81. Yeah, he did. Long of 69. Nice. Sorry, Joe. And 4 for 52 for Cedric Wilson. Jalen Waddle had a touchdown and 5 for 35. Like, he can't even get involved because they're already up by 30.
Right.
Well, that much, but still, like, okay. Raheem Mostert gets a touchdown, 10 for 65. 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs for Tua, 308 on the day. And they're fun, man. They're fun. They're creative. They are flipping fast. And now with more Claypool.
I think the stat cease was, they have that next gen stats where they can see your top
miles per hour, right?
miles per hour. And I
Mhm.
think the top seven are
Ooh.
all Dolphins, and like 3
Ooh.
different guys making up the top 7 fastest miles per hour recorded. I think Tyreek Hill hit the mark today. That was number 1 so far this year. They're breaking football. And I say lots of stuff, and I get a lot of stuff wrong, okay? But I remember being so fascinated by the Achane pick, and we talked, queued up Cease, that this offense creates so much space in defenses. What is a fast, shifty running back like Devin Achane going to do? Well, we're seeing it. I think at one point, Cease, and he hasn't had a paltry number of carries. I think at one point he's on the season averaging 13 yards a carry. On the season against NFL defenses. How is that? You watch Devin Achane, and it's like he's at the 3rd level of the defense right away. I mean, he's just always running past a linebacker. And now there are good defenses. Next week they play Carolina. That's probably not one of them. There are going to be defenses that are able to thwart. We saw Buffalo. We saw New England thwart a lot of things, although Achane still had a big game against Buffalo, that this offense wanted to do. But they're breaking football. They're breaking fantasy. And you see, Raheem Mostert gets a touchdown. He's a what the heck flex at least every week. Tyreek Hill is just unfair. It's just unfair. Tyreek Hill looks like one of those players, like sometimes in some of these video games, you get to invent a player. You get to make someone that is really shouldn't exist.
Create a player. Usually it's me, and then I like max out all my skill at 100.
Right. That's what Tyreek Hill looks like out there. It's really, really scary. They asked Wink Martindale, how you've been sleeping this week? He's sleeping like a baby, waking up every 2 hours crying, So yeah, he gets it. That was before the game. They set the record Cease for the first yardage in the first 5 games. Denver gets a little credit for that, right? Vance Joseph gets a little credit for that. The other offenses were like the 2011 Patriots, the 2000 Rams. That's what we're talking about. This is a moment. Like, take it in, folks. You're at the Grand Canyon. You're at Niagara Falls. You're getting to see something special, and hopefully you're benefiting from it some way in fantasy. And we will always go back and reference this offense as saying sometimes it's just about getting, Jalen Waddle's time is coming. Tua, it's a down game. He has 302 scores. You're like, oh, that's it. That's where this offense is right now. Mike McDaniel is making this so much fun, and it certainly, let's just all light a prayer candle that Tua makes it to the playoffs healthy, because it's going to make the playoffs so much more interesting.
Yeah, and it's going to make it fun and exciting and fresh. You know what I mean? Like, exactly what this league needed. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike McDaniel. It's flipping awesome. Cincinnati and Arizona. It's interesting. Like, we're learning things. It's week 5. It's the start of the new quarter in the NFL season. And Joe Burrow had been struggling until today. But is it Arizona, or is it him, or is he figuring out? Is he getting healthy? No T. Higgins. It didn't matter. Jamar Chase went off. 34-20, the final score. Bengals get the win over Arizona. They're 2-3. Arizona's 1-4. Burrow, 317, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. Sacked 3 times. Jamar Chase, 15 for 192 and 3 touchdowns. Trent Irwin, nobody started, 8 for 60. Tyler Boyd, maybe you started, 6 for 39. Joe Mixon, 25 for 81. So, Bloom, you tell me. I will watch this game twice. I will chart the plays starting tomorrow, although the Broncos play on Thursday night. So this week, I already am like waking up with the audible, Bloom.
Okay.
You're going to have to pull me out of a zombie-like slumber for this week. But you tell me, brother, before I watch this game, is Burrow back or is it just Arizona?
No, he's back. And I know that I've criticized Cincinnati saying that he should have went on IR after week 1. Or at least after week 2 when he reported that, he re-injured the calf. And they shouldn't just let him be out there, not really able to protect himself and so on. But maybe what I didn't include in that analysis, Cease, we're talking about Joe Burrow. We're talking about the dude that wanted his massive scar on his knee to be front and center in the promotional picture, right? This is a different kind of dude. And may he run, and we get to watch him play. Because it's back. They're back. It's fun. It's fun for fantasy. Jamar Chase. Football's fun for him again. Joe Mixon, it's going to come now. If you bought low on Mixon, you're going to like it. He was stopped on 4th down inside the 5. Better times are coming. Trent Irwin catching more passes, doing more than Tyler Boyd. We'll see when T. Higgins is going to be back. Buy low on T. Higgins right now. Because, Burrow is back. He's looking better. This Arizona defense is no slouch. And now this Bengals team can get back on track, getting into that very interesting AFC picture. And Baltimore stubbed their toe enough. Come on, the Steelers, Cleveland has stubbed their toe enough that put this all behind you. And remember, the bye is also coming up soon for the Bengals. So all of these things add up to, we can just put this behind us. We can put it behind us for fantasy. Next week, they face Seattle. Interesting game. Then week 7, bye. That's when Joe Burrow gets to rest. And football Sundays are just more fun, when Joe Burrow's healthy.
Yeah, I want Joe Burrow to be good, nay, great, because he is officially awesome. I still love Josh Dobbs, the egghead quarterback. 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Rougher day for old Josh. Marquise Brown, 4 for 61 and a touchdown. Zach Ertz with the other touchdown. And Rondale Moore, 3 for 26. Maybe had him in. I don't know. Amari Dumercarda, 10 for 45 and 1 touchdown. Okay. And James Conner, 6 for 46. Rondale Moore, 3 for 50 as a runner in this one. So, all right, Arizona. It was weird, man. It was weird. 17-14 at half. And you're thinking, maybe. And then, no, not even close.
No. But that's okay. We're on Kyler Murray watch. Dobbs' first interception came in this game. First interception as a Cardinal. And it was pick 6. And Cam Taylor-Britt, man, Bengals got a player there. Connor had a tremendous run, ended up setting up a sack or touchdown. I believe he didn't play after that run with the knee. It's Connor. And with Keontae Ingram out, that's Amari DiMercado's music, the running back behind Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller missed the national semifinal. It was against Michigan, I believe. And DiMercado had a tremendous game, put himself on the scene in that one, put himself on the fantasy scene. We'll talk about him in the waiver wire show. Marquise Brown had a nice touchdown. Michael Wilson, after everyone picked him up, a dud in this one. But you are going to see this team go against the Rams. Not really too afraid of them as far as pass defense. Remember, Cincinnati defense is one that we respect. We do respect this Arizona team. They're not going to have the first 2 picks in the draft. Houston's pick might not even be in the top 10 or 15. Arizona's will be, but Kyler Murray is going to come back soon enough, and this team is still a lot more competitive than we thought.
Whew. Puka Nacua, everybody. Still a thing. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but let's talk about Philadelphia and the L.A. Rams. Philadelphia gets the win 23-14. Philadelphia side first. Jalen Hurts, 303. Nice. 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Dallas Goedert. And they said, and I remember talking to my buddy Blake. Shout out Blake if he's listening. Because he had Goddard and had him in his lineup. And I was like, well, they're talking about using him more. And during the week in the news cycle in our Football Guys newsletter, I did get to write up a story about they're saying they're going to use Goddard more.
Right.
And they did it.
Yep.
All right. 8 for 117 and 1 touchdown for Dallas Goedert. All is forgiven Well, maybe. AJ Brown, 6 for 127. These guys are so much fun. Look at Hurts. He has 72 yards on the ground, a touchdown, 303 through the air, and you're like, yeah, it could have been more.
Yeah.
It could have been more. DeAndre Swift, 70 on the ground. Like, yeah. I guess that's kind of the story of the Eagles, right? Quez, whatever,
Mhm.
Suez Canal. Quez was like a couple catches, like it could have been, could have been more. Everything with the Eagles, it just could have been more, but it was enough to win.
See, they're undefeated. They're undefeated, and I don't think we've seen them play their best football on either side of the
Right,
ball yet.
right.
So what does that mean? I mean, on one hand, this team can grow into more than what they are, and they were one play from winning the Super Bowl last year. But on the other hand, is it just going to continue to be, well, they could be better. You're getting wins against inferior teams, but they could be better. But Hurts, a great fantasy pick. AJ Brown, a great fantasy pick. Dallas Goedert, again, it's positive regression, tight end week. And it wasn't just that they fed Goddard. And see, we talked about this on the show this week. They said, it's our fault. Okay. Nick Sirianni said, it's our fault as coaches.
And how rare
he's
is
not doing
that?
more.
Sean
Right.
Payton just got his ass kicked by Nathaniel Hackett, and he's not going to blame himself. He's the
No.
smartest guy in the room. Just ask him.
Right. Yes. So I think that there were some foreshadowing precursors to this game, and Dallas Goedert making these dominant plays, including in the red zone. And it's still DeAndre Swift's backfield. These are floor games for him, 10, 15-point games in PPR leagues. Still undefeated. Go to face that Nathaniel Hackett Jets team that you can never count out against any opponent, any condition of the game. And the Rams, this can be fun for fantasy. I think you see where they measure against the actual good teams in the NFC. But I do think that at least for 1 week, there's a lot of people saying I was right.
I was right. How about Puka? Puka. And now with more Cooper Kupp too. So these are important details that we must go over because Matthew Stafford, 2 touchdowns, 222 through the air. Puka Nacua, 7 for 71 and a touch. Tutu Atwell, 2 for 9 and a touch. Tyler Higbee, 2 for 20. Oh. And then Cooper Kupp, 8 for 118 in this contest. We're back. And he's back.
Yeah,
Kyron
he's
Williams,
back.
13 for 53, by the way. And well, there you go, Rams. It's all you could do against Philadelphia.
Yeah. The important thing here is Cooper Kupp comes out of the gate, no sign of any injury or any limitations, or even that in his mind he felt like he couldn't go as hard as usual after having that re-injury of that hamstring. Most of his production came early. Puka started doing more later, but I think Puka gets a slight edge in fantasy production in PPR leagues, like 20.1 to 19.8, 2 wide receiver ones. That's what we've got here. If you said Cooper Kupp's going to be fine, he's still going to be his old self, you were right. If you said Puka Nacua can still be a wide receiver one with Cooper Kupp out there balling out, you were right, which means if you've been holding on to Matthew Stafford saying better times are coming, you were right. And if you were holding on to Kyron Williams saying, this is probably as good as he's going to be, you were probably right. Now, this offense can be productive enough that he can still get those chippy 1-2 yard touchdowns and be facing defenses that are a little stressed out, figuring out how they're going to cover Kupp and Nacua. However, it could be a bumpier ride for Kyron Williams from here on out as this offense is going to run through Matthew Stafford. Again, Rams, Arizona should be a decent late game, unlike games involving the Denver Broncos.
Hey, I'm not going to belabor it. 1, because they're not worth it.
Yeah.
2, I did an hour post-game show. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe this video, and then go watch my Denver Sports post-game show. I don't know what to search. Anyway, Denver Sports. And I did almost an hour, had 1,100 comments. I almost lost my mind. I might have lost my job. Like, it does. If you want me going unhinged about the Broncos, go over and watch that. Okay.
Right.
And I'm keep checking my phone, Bloom, like Square Biz.
Right.
Yeah, and I just got a call from my producer, so I got to see what that's all about. Anyway, let's talk about this game.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to belabor it because the Broncos are an embarrassment, worst team in the league, whatever. 31-21, Jets get the win. They're 2-3, Broncos are 1-4. And Zach Wilson gets 199, no touchdowns, 1 INT. Tyler Conklin, 4 for 67. It was Garrett Wilson, 3 for 54. Alan Lazard, 3 for 33. Why am I talking about this? I should just be talking about Breece Hall. 22 for 177 and a touchdown. So instead of, I promised I wouldn't do this, but I think I'm going to do it a little bit. Instead of like stacking the line to stuff the run, hey, we're going to let anyone but Breece Hall beat us. Hey, we're going to have Zach Wilson. If you win, we're going to have Garrett Wilson guarded by Pat Surtain, right? So we're going to take him away. We're going to stack the line. We're going to put 10 in the box. Breece Hall is not going to beat us. And if Tyler Conklin beat us, so be it. Well, everybody beat him because, hey, Vance Joseph, everybody.
Yeah, that's what you get when you don't fire the defensive coordinator that gave up 70 points. That's what you get. That's what you get. Zach Wilson, well, maybe not so confident. I mean, it's Denver's defense. And yeah, they did honor the pass, which maybe they shouldn't have. But so Zach Wilson, you saw a little bit of life there from Tyler Conklin, not as much from Garrett Wilson. Not exactly the big blow-up game you hope from Alan Lazard, but it wasn't a dud. It's all about Breece Hall. He's so good. Forget it. It takes 18 months to get all the way back from an ACL. Oh, my. If there's more, if Breece Hall has more, like, see, if next year we see, oh, he was still affected by the ACL, like the Breece Hall we saw today, if that's what he looks like when he's not 100%. So, yeah, as a defense, you want to make sure the ball stays in Zach Wilson's hands. And as you said, Cease, the Broncos didn't do a good enough job of that. By the way, Breece Hall, it was Breece Hall and Bryce Hall, basically the stars of this game. And you love Robert Saleh's personality. Teams take on the personality of their quarterback and head coach. And when you have Robert Saleh and you have Zach Wilson, teams take on the personality of their head coach, which is a very, very good thing. And yes, Cease, they won this one from Nathaniel Hackett. And they got expletives into headlines, well, dash, or asterisk or whatever. But just showing that, Sean Payton, you're writing a check, but it came back insufficient funds.
Insufficient. That's a PM Dawn song. Anyway,
Yeah.
So I just texted, I'm texting my executive producer. Shout out Richie Carney, whose best friend, by the way, I'm not speaking out of turn. His best friend is Kendall from My Fantasy Life. So shout out Kendall, friend of mine. She used to work for The Fan and now working for Matthew Berry. So shout out everybody. But shout out Richie. Richie says I'm not in trouble.
Good.
I might have saved my job. Or I don't know.
Okay, good.
Anyway, Sean Payton is a bully. I don't want to say Sean Payton is a fraud. I honestly do not believe that. As bad as it is, I don't believe
Well, see, so you mentioned the stuff about Dan Campbell, and Campbell would say he learned a lot from Payton after he got that stint as the interim head coach when they considered actually keeping him on in Miami. Then he went and worked for Sean Payton, and he would probably give Sean Payton a lot of credit for what the Lions are doing right now.
Yeah, for sure. So let's look into this. I mean, if we have to, because here's the thing. And again, Jaleel McLaughlin can play, everybody. Everybody sees it. Matt Waldman was the first guy to talk about him in January. Okay. I've been telling everybody he's the guy. They do stuff in practice. Like, hey, that Marvin Mims screen pass in the red zone that didn't work. I've seen that in practice every day. Wait, did I just say the magic word?
Uh-oh.
I need something to make me happy, Bloom. I need something to make me happy because I said it every day. Yeah. Every day. Right there. There it is. Thank you, Vic Fangio. You grumpy ass. You're making me feel better. How is that possible? Oh, yeah, because Sean Payton's a bully and a tyrant. I don't think he's a fraud. I don't know. Why aren't you playing Jaleel McLaughlin more? Marvin Mims had a terrible day. A couple fumbles, like terrible, terrible, terrible day for Marvin Mims. But the kid's got talent. Jerry Jeudy doesn't do much, 650, whatever. Why am I talking about these guys? Why are you going Samaje Perine? They're down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and they're like, let's hand it off to Samaje Perine for 2.7 a carry. Like, come on, man. Sutton doesn't do anything till the fourth quarter. Come on. The reports about everyone's getting traded. Yeah, Judy's getting traded. Sutton's getting traded. And now that I'll say this, I have to couch this since people got all upset when I said Vance Joseph's going to get fired. I believe Vance Joseph should be fired. I believe Sutton, Judy, maybe Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, Josie Jewell. Like there's 5 guys that could be traded. Surtain probably the least likely unless they get a first rounder and more. But I believe Sutton, Judy, Simmons, Jewell, Frank Clark. You're going to have 5-6 guys traded, maybe even before Thursday night when they play Kansas City.
Yeah, that's the thing, Cease. And we've been leading up to this, talking about this again, that unless this team turns it around and looks credible pretty quickly, this is going to turn into a teardown. Yeah, Sean Payton, you're getting paid, you're getting the Walmart money, but you're overseeing a complete rebuilding experience. And I don't know how he's going to feel about that at this point in his career. I think we should call him Jaleel the Thrill. Cease. Getting a little southern there. You feel it. You sit up a little bit when he has the ball in his hands. Good things happen. Good things happen for your fantasy team. And thankfully, he's good enough that he doesn't need that full workload to matter for fantasy football. Russell Wilson did a little bit as a runner here. There's just not anything going in the downfield passing. And Cease, you gave us the skeleton key. If you want to see downfield passing from this team, especially the Marvin Mims, they need to establish the run. They need to soften up the defense. They need to get the defense playing on their heels a little bit. They're just not doing that. Certainly not a defense like the Jets. You're not going to get the Jets playing on their heels. They're just not. So you see what happens in this one. So yeah, it is a fire sale. It is time for a tear down. The fire is already swept through. It's the rubble. It's the smoking cinders and ash of whatever they thought they had coming into the season, because they don't have much. And yeah, now you got to go to Kansas City on a Thursday night and everyone's going to talk about Taylor Swift. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, better than talking about the Broncos.
Right.
So let's move on and let's give the Chiefs their due. Chiefs in Minnesota, and Minnesota's fighting. They're plucky, right? That's what they do. They just don't win.
Yeah.
It's not last year. Last year they won, but it was there was a sense of fraudulence with the Vikings and what they did in those one-score games. Sorry, I know flatulence. I know we have a lot of Vikings fans that listen to the show. We appreciate you. 27-20, the final score. Kansas City's beatable until they play Denver and score 70. Anyway, Pat Mahomes, 31-41, 281, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Travis Kelce, 10 for 67 and a touchdown. Rashee Rice, 4 for 33 and a touchdown. Justin Watson, 2 for 56. Justin Ross, 2 for 28. Kadarius Toney, 5 for 26. Sky Moore, 2 for 11. I feel like with the Kansas City receivers, it's just like Plinko. Remember that game on Price is Right?
They put the zeros right next to like the 10,000 or 5,000. It was right there.
You're going to like drop it down and then it's going to go, Sky Moore, Rashee, Kadarius Toney.
Justin Watson.
Right, Justin Watson. Oh, what are you going to do? All right, what are you going to do? And then, of course, Isaiah Pacheco, the angriest runner in the league. He didn't get hurt, did he? Again, 16 for 55 and a touchdown for Isaiah Pacheco. So the Chiefs roll. Maybe not roll as much as people want, but hey, if you want points, let's wait till Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. On a silver platter. Kansas City winning ugly. But isn't this, the thing about Kansas City and why they're in a dynasty, we can say that now, Cease, right? Dynasty, we can say that. The reason they're in a dynasty is whatever the game script calls for, whatever the opponent, whatever part of their team has to step up, they find a way to do it. And this was a tough game, but they made it happen. Mahomes was held down. Kelce was banged up. Then Kelce comes back out there and records a lot of short catches to help them get back. Let's see how he is for Thursday. I think he was out there, if I'm correct, he was out there to help defend on the Hail Mary attempt. So I think he's okay. But we'll see. Isaiah Pacheco, not exactly running free, but for fantasy, still getting a touchdown, still having a solid start. And then, Rashee Rice gets a touchdown. It's Alfredo Brown. Love you, Alfredo. Put it perfectly when he said, we're going to step on the rake again. We're going to just hit ourselves in the face. I'm going to try to get a Kansas City receiver that's going to hit for fantasy weekend. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But this Kansas City team being right in the thick of it to go to the Super Bowl, that's going to happen. And Minnesota losing one-score games after winning 11 last year, Cease, that's going to happen.
I think Brandon puts it best here in the chat room. Shout out chat room. He says the Chiefs seem bored.
Yeah.
I'll go with my second Wayne's World reference of the show and say, one time I thought I had mono for an entire year. Turns out I was just really bored.
Yeah, just really bored. Yeah, well, it's kind of like when the little brother thinks he's finally going to beat the big brother, and they get so close, and the big brother's like, "You want to try again tomorrow?" I guess so. That's kind of the Chiefs with the rest of the NFL.
That's correct. Let's talk about the Vikings to tie a bow on tonight's program. 284, 2 touchdowns from Kirk Cousins. Jordan Addison, 6 for 64 and a touch. TJ Hawkinson, 5 for 51. KJ Osborne, 5 for 49. Justin Jefferson, 3 for 28. Okay. All right. You have Justin Jefferson. You're fine.
Yeah.
Maybe not today. Maybe you lost today. But anyway, Alexander Madison, receiving touchdown. All right. 8 for 26 on the ground. Whatever. So there you have it. That's what the Vikings are capable of doing, and it's not as much as you'd like.
Yeah, they come out on the first play of the game. Boy, the football gods are cruel, right? Again, they're 1-4, all 4 of the losses, 1-score losses. First play of the game, Josh Oliver, like a 25-yard catch. Blocking tight end. This is why he's the blocking tight end. Fumble, 8th lost fumble. And that's, they always talk about fumble luck. 8 lost fumbles. That's like a season of lost fumbles. And they've had it in the first 5 games. So yeah, the football gods, using them as a cautionary example of regression. I don't know. They're moving the ball early in the game, but settling for field goals. You don't beat the Chiefs by settling for field goals. It never happens. It's never going to happen. How do you lose to the Chiefs? Kick field goals. Okay, it's not Herm Edwards. Is there a running back by committee? Maybe. Cam Akers has some juice too. Does it matter because this is a Kirk Cousins offense with Justin Jefferson leaving with a hamstring injury? So the good news, bad news. Isn't that the name? Good news, Cecil, you're not going to get fired. The bad news is you're still covering Sean Payton. The good news is
I'll go Simpsons movie on you when Homer tells Bart, like, this is the worst day ever. The worst day ever so far. So when you say, hey, Cecil, good news, you're getting fired. I'm like, I'm not getting fired at this moment.
Yeah. That's right. It's only 8:34 Central right now. So, Addison, Hawkinson, even KJ Osborne, we'll talk about him on the waiver wire show because it is Chicago. We did see Sam Howell put up some numbers, even though he lost. But now that they're 1-4 seats, and I know I'm probably doing fantasy football wishful thinking, you just wonder, Kirk Cousins, well, although you see Aaron Rodgers is showing everyone he's going to be back. So maybe not Kirk Cousins, the Jet. Maybe we still have a plot twist to figure out where Kirk Cousins is going to land. But I think it's interesting that the farther they fall in the standings, maybe the more likely we see them seriously consider trading him at the deadline, because I think he's not the quarterback of the future for this team, but he could be the quarterback of the present for somebody else.
That is a wrap, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for putting me in a better mood. To you, Bloom, but also to our audience, because it's bad for my mental health to watch the Broncos, knowing full well what the week is going to have in store, and not just because it's the Chiefs on Thursday, but just like being around that bully and like having these things like, and again, just you can't say anything of what you've seen. Well, I won't be talking about good football until I see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just complaining. So there you go.
I'm Cecil Lammey, and I'm just complaining. Until next week.
You know what really grinds my gears? Anyway, thanks. Bloom, how was your day? Let's talk. Let's get
it's a football Sunday. It's a football Sunday.
Baby.
No matter what, we get to do this instead of some of the much harder bargains as many of the hardworking people who help support our show and our website and our operation here. So it's always a good day. But that's why I try to be positive today, even though the Steelers and Matt Canada probably won't get fired now. Not that he really ever was going to get fired, but even though he had nothing to do with the win today, but it still shows the heart of Steelers football. And Cease, I think that even though it might be bad for your mental health, it's good for the mental health of your listeners that you're being honest and you're allowing people to get in their feels.
It's what it's all about. Thoughts, emotions, and actions. The Holy Trinity, everybody. All right, before I get too crunchy, I was in Boulder today, Bloom. I was at the Boulder-thon. Anyway, before I get too crunchy, just want to say thanks. Be safe, be kind, know that you're appreciated. Watch the Y-Files, because I stole that ending from AJ, who was fantastic on the Y-Files, right here on YouTube. And maybe some of their subscribers can come on over and watch the Audible. Anyway, it's a great program. And we love you. We appreciate you all. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please Stay frosty.